Hello students, welcome to the English YouTuber. So today we're going to learn the short story, A Question of Trust, which is written by Victor Canning. So in this video, we are going to learn the line-by-line explanation as well as the summary of the story. So let's start with the summary. The protagonist in the story is Horace Danby. So Horace Danby is a 50-year-old bachelor whose profession is a locksmith. But because he is a book lover and loves collecting rare and expensive books, he resorts to robbing just enough money so that it can last him a year and he can buy those rare expensive books that he wants. He does a lot of careful planning before his heist, which makes his robbery quite successful. But unfortunately, this once, when he entered the house at Shotover Grange, and as he was about to break the safe, he was startled to find a young, pretty, beautiful lady whom he thought to be the owner caught him red handed. To charm her in order to not punish him, he removes his gloves and offers his lighter. She agrees to let him go under one condition, that he would break open the safe as she had forgotten the safe's combination number. He opens the safe for her, but unfortunately gets arrested because she herself was a thief who had come to steal the safe and had tricked him. And now Horace is an assistant librarian in the prison. And in prison, he constantly thinks about the young pretty lady, but gets very angry when someone talks about honor among thieves. So this is the summary of the story. Now let's go into the line-by-line explanation. Everyone thought that Horace Danby was a good, honest citizen. He was about 50 years old and unmarried, and he lived with a housekeeper who worried over his health. Okay, so Horace Danby was 50 years old, was unmarried, but had a caretaker who was very caring towards him. In fact, he was usually very well and happy except for attacks of hay fever in summer. So he had hay fever. So hay fever is actually an allergic response that many people have during certain seasons. So let's see what the profession of Horace Danby was. He made locks and was successful enough at his business to have two helpers. So he was a locksmith. Yes, Horace Danby was good and respectable, but not completely honest. So people thought that he was good and honest, but he wasn't completely honest. So let's see what made him so. 15 years ago, Horace had served his first and only sentence in a prison library. He loved rare, expensive books. So what did Horace Danby like to collect? He loved to collect rare and expensive books. So he robbed a safe every year. So what provided money for Horace Danby to buy the rare expensive books? This is the answer. He robbed a safe each year and he planned it carefully and meticulously, just what he would do, and stole enough to last for a year, that is 12 months, and secretly bought the books he loved through an agent. Okay. So this is why he wouldn't get caught, because he carefully planned his heist. Now, walking in the bright July sunshine, this is also summer, he felt sure that this year's robbery was going to be as successful as all the others. Why did he think it was going to be as successful as all the others? That could be a question. Let's see the answer. For 2 weeks, he had been studying the house. So for a period of 14 days, 2 weeks, he had been studying the house at Shotover Grange, looking at its room, its electric wiring, its paths, and its garden. This afternoon, the two servants who remained in the grange while the family was in London had gone to the movies. So the family wasn't here, they were in London, and the two servants that took care of the house had gone for a movie. Horace saw them go and he felt happy in spite of a little trickle of hay fever in his nose. He came out from behind the garden wall, his tools carefully packed in a bag on his back. So he was sure that he wouldn't get caught because he had gone through the rooms, the electric wire, a path, garden, and everything. There were about 15,000 pounds worth of jewels in the grand safe. If he sold them one by one, he expected to get at least 5,000 enough to make him happy for another year. So he said, if I'm successful in this robbery, then I will have enough money for a year. Then I wouldn't have to break any things. There were 3 very interesting books coming up for sale in the autumn, and now he would get the money he wanted to buy them. He had seen the housekeeper hand the key to the kitchen door on a hook outside. He put on a pair of gloves, took the key, and opened the door. He was always careful not to leave anything of red. So he did not leave any trace behind of his robbery. So they couldn't trace back to him because he always put on a pair of gloves and was careful not to leave any fingerprints behind. A small dog was lying in the kitchen. It stirred, made a noise, and moved its tail in a friendly way. So the dog was a very friendly dog. All right, Sherry, Horace said as he passed. So he knew the dog's name was Sherry. Because for 2 weeks he was keeping track of the house. All you had to do to keep dogs quiet was to call them by their right names and show them love. So he's saying there are 2 reasons how you can keep the dog happy. First is call the right name and then show them love and they will not harm you. The safe was in the drawing room behind a rather poor painting. So where was the safe? The safe was in the drawing room behind a painting. Horace wondered for a moment whether he should collect pictures instead of books. So there was a thought that crossed his mind. Instead of books, should I collect pictures? But then he thought, they take too much room. In a small house, books were better. He wasn't very rich, so he had a small house. And he thought, okay, books are better and paintings take too much space in the house. There was a great bowl of flowers on the table, and Horace felt his nose tickle. So his hay fever was getting triggered by the flowers on the table. He gave a little sneeze and then put down his bag. He carefully arranged his tools. He had 4 hours before the servant returned. So he said he was taking his own sweet time to arrange everything, and he was very meticulously doing everything because he's like, they've gone for the movies and it wouldn't be until 4 hours that they would return. And since he was a locksmith and an expert, he knew that is ample amount of time. So from here, they can ask you 2-3 questions. One was, how did he make sure that he was not caught? That is question number 1 here. Another question could be, where was the safe? And another question could be, why didn't he want to steal paintings? Okay. Let's go to the next. The safe was not going to be hard to open. After all, he had lived with locks and safes all his life. So this was going to be a piece of cake for him. Easy. The burglar alarm was poorly built. He went into the hall to cut its wire. He came back and sneezed loudly as the smell of the flowers came to him again. So he was allergic to the flowers and that made him sneeze. How foolish people are when they own valuable things. So he thought, when people own valuable things, they become foolish. Why did he think that? Let's see. Horace thought. A magazine article had described this house, given a plan of all the rooms and a picture of this room. Okay, so there was a blueprint of the entire house and the room given in a magazine. So it was a heyday for robbers because they could easily steal. The writer had even mentioned that the painting hid a safe. Oh no. So, no wonder he thought that rich people are foolish. But Horace found that the flowers were hindering him in his work. So, what was hindering him in his work? It were the flowers that were kept in on the table. He buried his face in his handkerchief. Then he heard a voice say from the doorway, "What is it? A cold or hay fever?" So he wasn't alone, there was someone else in the house. Before he could think, Horace said, "Hay fever," and found himself sneezing again. The voice went on, "You can cure it with a special treatment, you know, if you find out just what plants give you the disease. I think you better see a doctor if you are serious about your work. I heard you from the top of the house just now." So this strange person is saying, you better see a doctor if you are serious about your work, if you're serious about your profession, which is stealing, burglary, robbery, because you were not at all quiet. I could hear you from the top of the house just now. So if you want to be discreet in your work and be quiet, you better get treatment. So discreet is here. Discreet is like secretive. It was a quiet, kindly voice, but one with firmness in it. A woman was standing in the doorway and Sherry was rubbing against her. So the dog was rubbing against her, which shows familiarity. She was young, quite pretty, and was dressed in red. She walked to the fireplace and straightened the ornaments there. "Down, Sherry," she said. "Anyone would think I had been away for a month." She smiled at Horace and went on. "However, I came back just in time, though I didn't expect to meet a burglar." Okay, so what made Horace believe that the young woman was the owner or the lady of the house? So there were certain things that made him believe that. First was the dog showed familiarity as the dog Sherry was rubbing against her. Second, she went to the fireplace and straightened the ornaments there. So that is usually done by people who own the house. "Down, Sherry," she said. Okay. And she kept saying that she had come back just in time, so that she was away. Horace had some hope because she seemed to be amused at meeting him. So, what gave Horace some hope that he could escape? Because she seemed to be amused. He might avoid trouble if he treated her the right way. So he thought, okay, I can save myself and avoid the trouble if I treat her the right way. He replied, "I didn't expect to meet one of the family." She nodded. "I see what an inconvenience it is for you to meet me. What are you going to do now?" So she said, "I know now that I am an inconvenience because you can't steal the safe anymore. So now what are you going to do? How are you going to escape?" Horace said, "My first thought was to run." He thought, okay, the first instinct that I got was to run away. "Of course, you could do that, but I would telephone the police and tell them all about you, and then they will get you at once." She said, "Okay, you can run if you want, but I will telephone the police and they'll immediately catch you." Horace said, "I would of course cut the telephone wires first and then," but he hesitated and smiled on his face. So he was trying to tease her because maybe in that way he thought he could escape. "I would make sure that you could do nothing for some time. A few hours would be enough." She looked at him seriously. "You will hurt me?" Horace paused and then said, I think I was trying to frighten you when I said that. So he's only trying to frighten her. He did not hurt her. It shows he was indeed a good person. You don't frighten me, Horace suggested. It would be nice if you would forget you ever saw me. Let me go. He's pleading now. It would be nice if you would let me go. He. The voice was suddenly sharp. Why should I? You are going to rob me? If I let you go, you would only rob someone else. Society must be protected from men like you. So here the question could be, why didn't the lady want to let him go? Because she said if he would let him go, then he will rob someone else and society must be protected from burglars like him. Horace smiled. I'm not a man who threatens society. I steal only from those who have a lot of money. So I don't steal from poor people. I steal only from people who have ample amount of money. Only from the rich. I steal for a very good reason. And I hate the thought of prison because I definitely don't want to go to prison. And I have a very good reason to steal, which is I buy books from it. She laughed and he begged, thinking that he had persuaded her. Look, I have no right to ask you for anything, but I'm desperate. Let me go and I promise never to do that kind of thing again. I really mean it. So he promises that if you let me go, I will never steal from anyone again. And he said, I really mean it. She was silent, watching him closely. Then she said, you are really afraid of going to prison, aren't you? She came over to him, shaking her head. I have always liked the wrong kind of tea. She picked up a silver box from the table and took a cigarette from it. So here, this act also shows or made Horace believe that she was the owner of the house. Because he's taking up things from the house and using them. And usually burglars just come, steal, and they leave. Horace, eager to please her, and seeing that she might help him, he let his guard down. So what did he do? He took off his gloves and gave her a cigarette lighter. So he put his guard down. Put his guard down means he was no longer careful. He thought, okay, maybe there is a ray of sunshine here. Maybe she is going to help me. So he no longer was careful. You let me go? He held the lighter towards her. Yes, but only if you do something for me. So she's asking for a return favor. This was the biggest mistake that he did. That was removing his gloves so that she could get his fingerprints. Anything you say, so he is now helpless. It's like, tell anything, I'm ready to do it for you if you let me go. Before we left for London, I promised my husband to take my jewels to our bank, but I left them here in the safe. I want to wear them to a party tonight, so I came down to get them, but making up a story here, saying I was supposed to take it to the bank, but I did not, and now I want to wear it for the party, but. And Horace smiled and he said he completed the sentence. You have forgotten the numbers to open the safe, haven't you? So he's saying, oh, you want me to open the safe for you? Yes, replied the young lady. So he says, okay, just leave it to me and you will have them within an hour. But I'll have to break your safe. He says, it is not as difficult, just give me an hour and I will do it for you. Don't worry about that. You can break the safe. My husband won't be here for a month and I'll have the safe mended by that time. So she assures him that's not going to be a problem. I will get it mended. And within an hour, Horace had opened the safe, given her the jewels, and gone happily away. So he was happy that he was a free bird. He was free and he didn't have to go to prison. For 2 days, he kept his promise. What was his promise? That he will never steal again. To the kind young lady. On the morning of the third day, however, he thought of the books he wanted. So he was desperate now. I really want those books. And he knew he would have to look for another safe. So he's like, okay, I'm going to break the promise now. I will have to go and steal some safe. But he never got the chance to begin the plan. Oh, let's see why. So this could be a question. Why didn't Horace get a chance to begin his plan of stealing again? Because by noon, a policeman had arrested him for the jewel robbery at Shotover Grange because he was arrested for breaking open the safe at Shotover Grange. His fingerprints, for he had opened the safe without gloves. If you remember to give her the lighter, he had removed the gloves, and therefore, when he broke open the safe, he did not have his gloves on. And his fingerprints were all over that. And no one believed him when he said that the wife of the owner of the house had asked him to open the safe for her. So nobody believed him. The wife herself, a grey haired, so she was an old woman, sharp tongued of 60 years old, said that the story was nonsense because she was the real owner and not the lady, the young lady who he had met that day. Horace is now the assistant librarian in the prison. So he is in prison. He is behind bars. He often thinks of the charming, clever young lady who was in the same profession as he was. So she didn't have to get her hands dirty, but she was so clever that she tricked him into believing that she was the owner and made him do the job. He gets very angry when anyone talks about honor among thieves. So when people talk about honor among thieves, he gets furious. His blood boils. This was the story of how a thief was deceived by another thief and he was caught in his act. I hope you enjoyed listening to the summary narration. If you haven't subscribed, do it immediately so that you don't miss any important videos. I am praying for you. God bless and study well. Right.